So I've recently found out that 2024 is maybe going to be my last summer. After 18 years of school, another 3 years of university, and then a whole year on top of that just looking for a job, looking for the next opportunity. I finally found it. I found my first ever full-time job. I'm going to be starting that in a couple of months, potentially even moving to a whole new part of the country, moving out of my childhood home on my own. When you're young, it's easy to feel like all of that is worlds away. You don't have any real responsibilities. You're dependent on your parents for like just about everything. And it's easy to take the small luxuries for granted. Like imagine the position I'm in right now. After 22 years, I've never not known a summer break. I've always had that to look forward to each year. And suddenly I've just been hit with this reality that all of that's coming to an end. I'm not a kid anymore. This is the start of a new chapter, and like sure, that chapter is gonna mean good things for me, but I can't help but feel nostalgic for those summers that have come and gone. And to be honest, until quite recently, I was the type of guy who just let summer pass me by. You know, I'd be coming back to school after summer was over and the new year was about to start. I'd find my friends and we'd all be sharing stories about the things we got up to in summer, parties they'd been to, cool trips overseas they'd done with their parents. But I'd just be standing there awkwardly. I wouldn't have anything to add to this discussion. I hadn't done anything cool with my summer. And you know, it's always different at the beginning of summer. You always have all these big ideas about how it's going to be this life-changing period, all these cool things you're going to go and do. But for whatever reason, they never materialize. They never end up happening like you imagine in your head. And I could get a little bit down about that because it's coming to an end, and about 75% of my summers growing up didn't turn out the way I wanted them to. I'd rather be positive. I'd rather put my energy into a more positive outlet and think about how I'm gonna make this summer the absolute best one of my life. My final summer. You know, fuck being an adult. I'm gonna have the summer that my teenage self always dreamed of having. And honestly, knowing what I know now, it was never that far away. I only needed a little push in the right direction to make the summer as good as it could be. So that's what I want to do for you by making this video. I want to tell you exactly what to do so you can start having those amazing experiences for yourself. For you to be the guy who has all the bragging rights in the friend group when you go back to school. People are jealous of the amazing experiences you've had. Instead of feeling like you've just let another summer go by without even realizing, I want you to feel like you've accomplished something. I want you to make some memories that you're going to be carrying with you for the rest of your life. So I can't think of a better way to open this video than by talking about the summer that I regret most. So the year was 2018. I would have been 16 years old, and I'd just come to the end of my very first exam period. I'd just taken about 20 exams in a row, and if I'd passed these exams, then I would have got to proceed to the next stage of school. And what I remember most about that day was just this incredible atmosphere. Like, it was absolutely electric. Everyone was in such high spirits coming out of that exam hall. I could overhear people talking about the cool things they were going to do like later on that evening. You know, go for a barbecue, get the beers out, just have a good time. Do you think coming out of that exam hall, I'd be just as excited about everyone else to go to these parties, to socialize, to make new friends and memories? But no, I wasn't thinking about any of that. I only had one thing on my mind, and that was getting home, opening the wardrobe where my PS4 had been locked away for months, loading up the PS4 onto a game that you may have heard of, and that's NBA 2K. You probably have heard of NBA 2K. It's obviously a basketball game, but it's one of these games where the developers can just get away with releasing the same game every year and charging like the price of a new AAA game. And bro, I was a junkie for this game. Like, it was a serious addiction. I'd never been like money motivated before. I was young. I probably could have gotten a job, but as soon as I started playing this game, you know, I was like hustling all the chores around the house. I needed that like in-game virtual currency to upgrade my player. I'd forgotten about this before I actually went to write this video, but I literally tried to scam the company. Like, I went on Google and found like a screenshot of someone else's PS4 transaction history showing that they'd like bought like $5 worth of currency, and I like edited it on Photoshop to put my name in it, thinking they would like just give it to me for free. But I needed that money to like upgrade my character's fucking dribbling stat or something. So yeah, for the entire summer, I'm talking like 8 weeks, this was one of the longest summers of my life. I locked myself in my bedroom with the curtains shut, just playing NBA 2K the whole time. I went disgustingly pale from not getting any sunlight on my skin. I let my hair grow out longer than I've ever let it done before, and yeah, I was just a gross human being. I didn't spend any quality time with my family. I didn't try to meet up with my friends, and I was happy with it. I was happily addicted, a happy crackhead. But in the second to last week of that summer, I get what I deserve. I finally received some karma from the universe. I wake up one morning and I'm looking for the PS4. I can't find it. It's not in my room like it usually is. And I come downstairs to find my brother on the PS4 in the living room. And what game is he playing? He's playing NBA 2K. I check again. He's on my account. He's using my player, and he's only like a young kid at the time. Without even realizing it, he deletes my player in front of me. Just like that, about like at least $50 to $100 of actual money and an entire summer's worth of progress is just erased. And I'm going through like all 5 stages of grief in about 10 minutes. So when I finally go back to school and I go through that all too familiar cycle again of listening to my friends share all their cool experiences and not having anything to contribute, I gotta say I was especially bitter that time. And it still shocks me that I wasted an entire summer on video games. It was actually part of the reason I took a really long break from video games. I didn't play video games for about 3 years whilst I was at university. And I do go back and forth on my opinion. Like you'll find videos on my channel that are like anti-video game, that say you should not play video games at all. But nowadays I'm more embracing this mindset that anything in excess isn't good for you. It's about balance, it's about moderation. The problem is when it becomes dependence, when you begin putting off other areas of your life, like your fitness and your health, your family, your social life. All those important areas I just fucking sidelined to play games. It's really not good to be shut in all day, just not getting sunlight on your skin. I don't want you to be wasting a summer like that. If it's an hour of video games at the end of the day, I'll accept it, but make sure it's at the end of the day, after you've done all of your like cool and important activities. A question I've been asking myself recently is, can I actually spend an entire day without technology, without my phone, without my computer or laptop or anything? Could I go an entire day uninterrupted without technology? If the answer to that question is no, or even just like the slightest doubt was in your mind when you heard that, I think it's time to take a break from the video games. And I know how difficult that is. Like I've made videos about this in the past. Apps and social media in particular, they literally use your own human psychology against you to hook you in. But I also recognize that you can't just like forcibly stop one thing without replacing it with another. So for the next part of the video, I want to give you a few ideas about what you could do instead of those kind of destructive habits. So if you enjoy video games, I think you're really gonna like this first idea. So one of my favorite things about games has always been the exploration, a feeling of adventure. So that usually means like open world games, but there was this one game in particular called The Forest that I had on PC that I absolutely loved. And what I really loved about the game was just the environments, the natural beauty. There's all these different areas with like waterfalls and rivers and caves that you can go in, and all these different types of animals and plants, and just exploring all of them was just the best. And with all that in mind, what makes me really embarrassed now, like embarrassed beyond belief, was for so many years I could have been experiencing the exact same thing in real life, like not more than 50 meters away from my house. For years I've had all this amazing nature, these breathtaking landscapes and forests literally on my doorstep that I haven't been making the most of. And the first time I realized this was when I was in lockdown for the first time. I literally had nothing else to do. I didn't have any schoolwork. So I finally set out to venture into the woods outside my house. And I enjoyed it so much, just going on these walks, that I like built it into my daily routine. I like set myself side quests in real life. Like today I'm gonna go and explore this area of the forest that I haven't seen. And like, I don't want to make it sound like it was mundane. Like what can you really expect to find in a forest? Like what, just a bunch of trees? But I found some weird shit in there, man. Like I found out that I have some like fucking Scandinavian neighbors who have this like massive country house who are like keeping fucking pet deer in their garden. They're just letting like about a dozen deer roam free in their garden. Like that sounds weird, but I would never have known that if I hadn't just gone and explored. But most of all, when it came to my mental health, I can't even describe the stillness and peace of mind I felt going on those walks through the woods, going on those like exploring tours. I could disappear for hours at a time in nature, and I didn't have my phone, but I was perfectly okay with it. So I've kind of slacked off on the adventure and exploration for 3 years whilst I was at university. But now that I'm back and I've got this summer to myself, I've made a point of saying that I'm going to go and explore a new area of my town every single day. I'm literally going to be spending a good portion of my day just unlocking the hidden part of the map. It could be looking for a new cafe so I can sip on coffee whilst writing my YouTube scripts. It could be finding a new outdoor calisthenics gym to hit a workout in. Or it could even be like hopping on a train to I don't know where, just seeing what cool days out I can have without spending too much money. The point is, I want to be the main character in my own like open world game. And you might not believe me, but like just in a short time, this has become more addicting than any video game. So try to incorporate those everyday adventures into your daily routine this summer. You'll be thanking me for it. So the other thing I want to talk about starts with a question, and that's how do you really unlock your potential this summer? So you'll remember from when I was talking about this earlier on in the video, but when you start summer, it's an incredible feeling. You have all these amazing ideas about how you're going to spend your time. But as the weeks go by, nothing really happens. Those plans just don't come together. You know, you wake up and without even realizing it, you've already spent 2 hours on social media just scrolling. Then you might go and get a bit of breakfast and then it's time for video games. And then you're back at school without having accomplished what you set out to do. And this used to happen to me all the time. Like, believe it or not, instead of just being an NBA 2K geek, I wanted to get good at basketball in real life. Basketball was one of my passions. But then the excuses started piling up, like, oh, I've got to buy a basketball. Oh, I've got to find a friend to play with. Oh, I've got to go all the way down to the courts. And it just didn't end up happening. And do you know what this is like? Like, I've got a pretty good metaphor for this. This is like when you're doing a puzzle, when you have all of these like hundreds of puzzle pieces scattered around on the floor in random order, and all you have to go on is a vague idea in your mind about like how it should look. But until you've looked at the back of the box, the picture of how it should look in detail, you're never really gonna know how to like put the pieces together. Do you know what I mean? Without that point of reference, without that plan, you don't really have any way of knowing how the pieces fit together. And that is exactly why you need to make a plan this summer. Humans so often take what is called the path of least resistance, and this applies to any task. We will generally just try and expend the least amount of effort possible to get something done. And say if the task in this instance is to entertain yourself this summer, if you have goals or ideas that don't seem clear or don't seem like easy to accomplish, you're just going to default to the next easiest thing, which is to play video games. And like honestly, when people like fail New Year's resolutions or they don't achieve their targets, 99% of the time this is the reason. It's because you don't have a plan of action, you don't have clear goals. The ideas remain stuck in your head as nothing more than just that, ideas, instead of practical, achievable targets. So I want to ask you this question: what do you want this summer? What do you want to go out and achieve? And like honestly, there's no right or wrong answers here. This can be anything at all. It doesn't matter if it's a small goal or a big goal. I want you to spend some time thinking about this, and then once you've decided on like 2 or 3 really amazing targets, like you're super excited at the prospect of achieving these things, I want you to write them down. And this might seem like something really simple, but it's actually crucial when it comes to you achieving those targets. Because as soon as you've written them down, you've brought them out of your head and into reality. They're no longer these jumbled up thoughts, these like fragmented ideas. These are actual targets that you can start working towards today. Like, this is seriously powerful. Just by writing them down, the likelihood of you achieving them has gone up by about 10 times as much. And then after that, you can start getting specific. Like, instead of general goals, you can start breaking them down into specific actionable targets. Like, to achieve this one high level goal, I need to do this and then this and then this. You can just go like day by day, literally just checking off these little goals. And the important thing with getting specific is to make it easy for yourself. Give yourself all of the information that you need to ensure that you actually go and do them. That for me, that usually involves like writing down the specific time that I'm going to do it and like how long it's going to take me to get there. Go into detail to make it as easy for yourself as you can, so that when the time comes, there's no friction in between you and achieving that goal. So you might be wondering what goals I've picked for this summer. I've gone for like a good balance of professional and social goals. So obviously that big professional goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Obviously I'd really appreciate if you help me out with that. But beyond that, I think part of being a better YouTuber is actually going out and living what I'm talking about. It's being credible. It's pushing myself into uncomfortable situations, relaying those learning experiences to my audience. So for me, that looks like approaching strangers, talking to girls, trying to get numbers, just really trying to get over those specific fears that I hold. around or just like spontaneously do things that cause me a lot of anxiety to think about. So then I can come back here and be authentic. I can be a role model. I'm the guy who like sticks by his word. One of your goals could be like to get really high level in a skill. It could be to become like a really good basketball player. But I do think at least one of them should be about getting over a specific fear that you hold. You know, we only grow through discomfort. So before I go, I think it is necessary to mention that the number one way to ensure that you achieve your targets this summer is through accountability. Accountability is the practice of holding yourself to that higher standard, of ensuring that even when you don't feel like it, you show up, you show that consistency. And honestly, I try my best to hold myself accountable, but I mean, I'm human. I slack off. It's an unfortunate reality. But an absolute cheat code for discipline and accountability is when you have someone else to hold you accountable. So I'm happy to announce that hopefully by the time this video goes out, I'll have my own Discord community set up and ready to go. I'm trying to set up a group of people who are determined to make the most of this summer, who can join me in achieving my goals and who just want more out of life in general. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be this super serious, like a little bit pretentious community. It's just going to be a chill place where you can come and have a good time, make some new friends, but also learn how to make those small, meaningful changes to your life. You can join through the link in the description. Hope to see you there. So that's going to be it from me today, bro. I'll see you in the next one.